Monsters 103 Miracles Dragon Damnation dropped on Netflix, a One Piece prequel about the life of Ryuma. It was a pretty good watch, fun, cool story following Ryuma saving a village and killing the dragon. Great animation at the end while he kills the dragon. Pretty solid watch, enjoyable, but my biggest takeaway was that it just felt like a huge missed opportunity. With One Piece seemingly taking over the West and Netflix choosing to skip most, actually all, of post time skip and dropping the newest arc of One Piece, Egghead, weekly. And this post Wano era where we just came from the homeland of Ryuma, I thought they could have did a little bit more with this. Not put it out as one episode, add a little bit to the one shot. They can't add too much because a lot of the stuff with Ryuma and swords are still to be revealed because of Mihawk and Zoro, and it probably wouldn't get pushed until then. But there's still nuggets they could have gave us that just feel like got squandered away. Now, the episode itself, pretty solid watch, enjoyable, nothing wrong with it. I just thought it could be so much more with where One Piece is today as a story. Once again, we know Ryuma is known as a sword god, and in One Piece today, one of the major arguments in the community is what really is a swordsman. Does everybody that carries and uses a sword, should they be called a swordsman? And I think the story has already gave us that answer in no. We've seen people like King, who straight up said, I don't really care about the sword. It's just a tool I use in fights. From Wano, we've seen that every sword have a will, and the swordsmith called Zoro selfish for not caring about said will of his swords and trying to understand his swords and what the sword want. We also saw that in Ryuma, who obviously followed a code and cared about his sword to the point that if you touched his scabbard, it meant a duel. It was a direct challenge. She said the sword was a reflection of the swordman and the samurai himself. Very Zoro-like, very Tashigi-like, very Mihawk-like. There are other people that use a sword that may not have these qualities. We know Shanks, is he a swordsman? Does that mean he's weaker than Mihawk if he's a swordsman? Does he really seem like he cares about the sword that much? We don't know enough to make a definitive argument just yet. I personally believe Shanks is not a swordsman. I don't think that's his primary fighting style, and I think if you take the sword away from him, he'd still be able to fight just as well. Same for Rayleigh. Disclaimer, this is mostly just headcanon based on portrayal of the show and my understanding of One Piece, but I also get the feeling of like, if Rayleigh doesn't have his sword, which we've seen him fight with every time we saw him fight against Kizaru and against Blackbeard, the first thing he does is pull out his sword. Well, against Kizaru, I guess the first thing we see him do is kick Kizaru before the sword comes out, but I digress. He just gives off the feeling that he'll be just fine without the sword versus a Zoro or a Mihawk. I feel like they need their swords. I don't know what Zoro exactly looks like without his swords. We've seen him use 2 and 1 sword. We even see him use 0 sword style one time where he was just flailing his arms and throwing wind. But against real people in a real fight, he needs a sword. I don't think Shanks is like that. I don't think Rayleigh's is like that. I don't think Roger was like that, where they need a sword in a fight. So the identity in One Piece of what a swordsman really is, I think that could have been pushed way more in a story about the sword god. Also, if you look at the one shot, in it, Ryuma has just a random sword that looks like it's not a black blade. Granted, Oda probably didn't come up with the terms and ideas of black blades and all of this at the time he made the one shot. But in the episode, Ryuma already had Shisui and it was already a black blade. And he looks pretty young. So did he turn this blade black already that young when we met him? He doesn't seem to know it, but apparently he's already known as the King Ryuma, who just goes around saving people and has the biggest heart of a warrior. In the episode, since they took the luxury of drawing him with Ryuma or animating him with Ryuma, I think they could have took some time, not make the one shot, one episode, maybe give us 3. I think 3 would have been like the perfect number. Give us 3 episodes and expand on some things. minor hints of how is a black blade made. How did Shisui turn black exactly? Or maybe at the start of the episode, let it not be black and let killing the dragon be the thing that makes it black. You can kind of do this, keep it open-ended, and still fine-tune and expand in the actual anime when we get to Zoro turning his blades black and Mihawk. Because that's probably when it's going to be fully flushed out. We're probably going to have a full understanding of black blades and the hows and the whys when Zoro turns his blade black or his blades black. Or it might be after, if that's when him and Mihawk fight. And in that fight, everything about swordsmanship and black blades get explained. It might be one of the two. So yes, they can't give us everything here, but they could have hinted to it. No mention of black blades at all. He just shows up already with a black blade. Just feels like missed opportunity to me. And Ryuma is from Wano. The setting of the show doesn't seem to be in Wano. He seemed to be in some random village somewhere outside of Wano. But from the Wano of today, maybe it was different back then. That's a possibility. But from what we know, I'm thinking we should have seen some Haki. There may have been a glimpse of it. It seemed like not too sure, where it looked like it was closer to Conquerors. But a story about Ryuma, the sword god from Wano with no Haki, post Wano, post leaving Wano country, just felt like a mess. We can add. We just skipped time skip to air Egghead on Netflix. We can add some Haki. We can add other things to make this really amazing. They added the end scene of Thriller Bark with Ryuma's corpse giving Zoro Shisui. That was an ad. That wasn't in the one shot. We can add more things, make it more modern and more up to date in the current story of One Piece. And this could have really been something special. Now, once again, it's nothing bad. It was a great watch. It was fun. I enjoyed it. But the potential of a story of Ryuma, the sword god that protected Wano. We saw nothing about Haki, nothing about black blades, little about swordsmanship and the ins and outs of it. Is it just me? Am I just being a greedy fan? I just felt like this could have been amazing. We saw the One Piece live action. Oda was involved. They took liberties to make some major changes, adding Garp from the beginning, which I loved, and other things that they changed. They could have took the one shot and with the help of Oda, make it more current to today. Make it 3 episodes, and it could have been something way more than what it was. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think? How do you feel about the one shot? Did you watch it? Did you read it? Do you have both? Can you see the differences? Did you like one over the other? Let me know. Put it in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, I know that you gon' say 'cause you need something real, for real.